A millionaire finds a street girl unconscious in the sewers. Her shocking confession stuns all. James Thornton was a ghost in his own city. The name whispered in boardrooms and glossy magazines, but no one truly knew the man behind the towering fortune. His penthouse was a glass fortress, cold and empty, stacked high above the endless bustle of New York. The kind of place where silence was so loud it hurt. On this rainy evening, while the city drowned beneath torrents, James felt that silence clawing at his chest again. Then, out of nowhere, a sharp noise cracked through the storm. A faint cry, buried beneath the thunder and rain, pulled him toward an alleyway he'd never dared to explore. A rusted grate gave way beneath his fingers, slippery and cold. Without a second thought, James slid down into the pitch-black labyrinth of the city's sewers, a shadow world beneath the glittering skyline. The bitter stench hit him first, rot, mud, decay weaving thick in the damp air. Water dripped from the arched ceiling, echoing like slow, mocking footsteps. His heart pounded harder with every step, uncertainty riding each breath. Then he saw her, a girl, barely a child, sprawled between the muck and discarded trash. Her skin was as pale as the flickering light from his pocket torch. Her chest barely rose with feeble breaths. James dropped to his knees, icy fingers trembling as he pulled the girl close. Her clothes were soaked and torn, but what stunned him more was the strange symbol tattooed on her wrist, an intricate, twisted pattern that seemed almost like a secret brand. His mind raced. Who was she? How did she end up here, forgotten beneath the city's roar? Minutes dragged by before her eyelids fluttered. Her eyes snapped open, wild and haunted, dark pools of fear and something else, desperation. She gasped, her voice breaking. "They're watching. Your family. They killed my brother." James froze. His chest tightened as the name of his corporation, his inheritance, thundered in his ears. The girl, Lily, started to whisper more, trembling, revealing a web of lies, betrayal, corruption that slithered into his very bloodline. She spoke of powerful men, secret deals, hidden crimes, names James trusted, shadows creeping into every corner of his life. The world he built felt like it cracked beneath him. His fortune was no longer a fortress. It was a cage built on betrayal. Pain, disbelief, and sudden fierce protectiveness surged through him. This girl needed him, but could he trust her? Could he risk everything to chase the truth that now burned through his veins? As he lifted her carefully, determination and dread fought for control. They had to leave. The rain hammered harder outside, echoing like warning bells in his ears. Then the message came, an anonymous text on his phone, chilling and clear. "Trust her, and everything you love will burn." James stared at the screen. Sweat stung his eyes. He was caught between suspicion and an unyielding need to uncover the truth hidden beneath lies. In this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. James stared at the anonymous message, heart racing in his chest. Sweat trickled down his brow as doubt twisted like a knife. Who was this person? And why were they threatening him? Lily trembled in his arms. "We need to go," he whispered, urgency pumping through him. With one last glance at the screen, James shoved the phone into his pocket, adrenaline flooding his veins. He couldn't sit here any longer. The walls felt like they were closing in. He lifted Lily, cradling her like a fragile bird. She flinched at his touch, eyes wide, scanning the darkness as if expecting shadows to leap out. Together, they moved, slipping through the maze of damp concrete and echoing water. Each step took them further from the lurking danger, yet deeper into a new kind of uncertainty. They reached a rusty ladder leading upwards. "We can escape here," James said, determination infusing his voice. With Lily still in his arms, he started to climb. The rungs creaked under his weight, their sound lost in the rush of the storm above. He pushed through the grate, the cold metal biting into his palms, and finally emerged into the alley, gasping for fresh air. But before he could savor the moment, a sudden noise froze him. A figure stood in the shadows, a silhouette against the rain. "You shouldn't have come here, James." The voice was low, dripping with disdain. James squinted, trying to make out the face. "Who are you?" he shot back, holding Lily protectively. The figure stepped into the light, revealing a man he didn't recognize, tall, well-dressed, with piercing eyes that seemed to see right through him. "I'm the one who made sure you'd find her," he said, a twisted smile creeping across his lips. "What?" Confusion flooded James. "Why? Who are you?" But instead of answering, the man's eyes flicked to Lily. "She's not who you think she is." James's heart stopped. "What do you mean?" "She's tied to all of it. Your family, the corruption, the death of your brother." The man's words sliced through the air like ice. James's grip on Lily tightened. "I don't understand." His voice shook, fear and anger jostling for control. Lily looked at him, and there was a flicker of something in her eyes. Fear? Guilt. "Don't listen to him, James," she protested. But her voice was shaky, uncertain. "You see?" The man advanced, a predator stalking its prey. "She's not just a victim. She's a piece in a game much larger than you." James felt the ground shift beneath him. A web of doubt spun around his mind. "What game? What are you talking about?" The man pulled a phone from his pocket, glancing at a message on the screen. "You'll find out soon enough." He smiled again, this time with a chilling certainty. "Just know, trust her, trust anyone, and everything you hold dear will burn." Before James could react, the man stepped back, disappearing into the shadows just as quickly as he had come. The alley fell silent, save for the pounding rain. James's heart raced as he turned to Lily. What did he mean? What's going on? Lily's face was pale, her breath shaky. I don't know, James, but we can't stay here. We have to keep moving." The uncertainty hung heavy between them, a storm far more dangerous than the one raging outside. And as they hurried away from the alley, the chilling truth sank in. Everything he thought he knew about his life, the money, the family, the trust, could all be a lie. As they stepped further into the night, a buzz echoed in James's pocket. Another message, another warning. He pulled out his phone, but his heart sank when he saw the message wasn't from an unknown number. It was from his brother. "I'm alive. Find me before it's too late." James stopped, the world narrowing to a single point. Everything he'd ever believed shattered in an instant. The darkness was deeper than he could have imagined, and the truth was now a question he didn't know if he wanted to answer. James stared at the screen, the words spinning in his head. His brother? Alive? It made no sense. Panic squeezed his chest tighter. He looked at Lily. Her face mirrored his shock. "We have to go," he urged, grabbing her hand. But before they could move, an echoing thud struck from the alley's mouth. A group of figures emerged, their silhouettes menacing against the rain. Their faces were hooded, shadows hiding intentions. "Run!" James shouted. They sprinted, but the figures were closing in. He felt Lily's grip slip, her breath quickening. "James, I can't," she gasped, stumbling. He wanted to lift her again, but frantic voices echoed behind them. "Get her! Don't let them escape!" Then a blinding light cut through the rain, illuminating their path. A car screeched to a halt beside them, its headlights flooding the alley. Before James could decide, he pushed Lily into the back seat. "What the hell?" shouted the driver, a man with a shaved head and tattoos creeping down his neck. "You two better get in fast." James hesitated, a torrent of thoughts pulling him in every direction. Trust him? He didn't even know who he was. But with shouts growing closer, he dove into the car, yanking the door shut. The engine roared to life, spraying water as they peeled away from the danger. "Drive!" Lily gasped, staring wide-eyed at the man. "We need to get out of here." "Relax. I'm not here to hurt you," he said, glancing at them through the rear view. "I'm just a friend of your brother's." The words sent a jolt through James. "My brother? How do you know him?" "Let's just say, he's been keeping an eye on you." James felt a chill crawl down his spine. He leaned forward, frustration burning. "Where is he?" "What do you mean, keeping an eye? You've been spying on me?" The man shrugged, eyes focused on the road. "Not me, but others. Your family has a lot of enemies, James. You've been in danger for a while. Your brother means to protect you." James shook his head, battling disbelief. "What's happening? What did he get into?" A sudden siren pierced through the air, a squad car chasing them. James' stomach dropped. "They found us." "Hold on," the driver yelled, and he swerved hard, tires screeching as he took a sharp corner. In the chaos, Lily leaned back, breathing heavily, fear crawling into her eyes. "James, we need to trust him." But the driver interrupted, shouting as he glanced at them. "Trust can get you killed, sweetheart. You should know that well, especially you." James's heart raced. "What do you mean?" The driver pointed at Lily. "You think she's innocent? She's not who you think she is." Lily gasped, betrayal flickering in her eyes. "What are you talking about? That's a lie." "Is it?" the driver challenged, eyes narrowing. "The results come back tomorrow. Everything you think you know will come crashing down. She's not just a victim. She's a player too." James's mind spun. He looked at Lily, searching her face for answers. Her eyes were wide, pleading. But before he could voice his confusion, the car lurched, slamming to a stop. They had reached a dead end, surrounded. Lily leaned closer, her voice a whisper tinged with urgency. "You have to trust me, James. Whatever happens." A sudden crash against the window made them all jump. The rear door swung open, and a tall figure loomed. It was the same man from the alley, his expression colder than the storm outside. "Looks like we caught you," he sneered. "Now the real game begins." The driver cursed under his breath, clutching the steering wheel, as James felt the panic rising. Everything was spiraling out of control, and the walls were closing in too fast. "Lily, he started. But the truth swung like a pendulum, and shadows curled in every corner of his mind. What had he stepped into? Who could he trust? The questions clawed at him as the light dimmed under the weight of their dark reality. James felt the air thicken, the tension crackling like electricity. A man from the alley loomed closer, casting a shadow over them. The world outside faded, rain and sirens muffled. All that mattered was the clenched fist of fear gripping his throat. "Looks like we caught you," he said again, sneering, the rain drenching him but failing to wash away the malice in his eyes. James clenched his jaw, adrenaline surging through him. He had to protect Lily. He had to know the truth, but the emptiness in his stomach told him neither would come easy. "Who are you?" James demanded, fighting to keep his voice steady. "What do you want?" "I already told you," the man said, his tone mocking. "Your brother sent me, the one you thought was dead." Lily gasped, stepping back as confusion and fear twisted her features. "What do you mean, your brother?" "Does it matter?" the man interrupted. "You're all tangled in a game that's bigger than you can imagine." He took a step forward, each movement calculated, like a predator cornering prey. "You should be grateful. I'm here to help." "Help?" James spat, unable to fathom the irony. "By threatening us?" "By opening your eyes, Thornton," he shot back. "Open your eyes to all the lies." But just then, as if the night itself was reacting to his words, a sudden explosion rattled the air. It reverberated deep in James's bones, blinding light erupting from behind them. The ground shook. Debris flew through the air, spiraling in chaos. The driver screamed, "Get down!" and everyone ducked instinctively. Then, as quickly as it started, it stopped. The light faded, leaving only darkness and the ringing in his ears. James blinked, trying to gather himself, but when he looked to the back seat, Lily was gone. The void of her absence swallowed his thoughts whole. Panic surged through him. "Lily!" he shouted, scrambling out of the car. "Right here!" she cried, emerging from the shadows behind a dumpster, visibly shaken. Relief washed over him momentarily, until he saw the horrified look on her face as she pointed beyond him. His heart dropped when he turned around. Emerging from the smoke was another figure, one James recognized instantly. "Daniel?" James's voice trembled. His brother stood there, alive, just as the message had said. But this was not the reunion he had imagined. Daniel's face was twisted with anger, eyes dark and hollow. "James," Daniel started, voice strained, "you have listen to me, she's—" But the words hung heavy in the air. Before he could finish, the man from the alley lunged at him. They collided, struggling for dominance. With a furious shout, Daniel threw the man off him, but as he did, he turned to James, eyes wide with desperation. "Get away from her, James. She's not who you think she is." "What?" James felt the walls closing in. "What are you talking about?" "I just found her." That's when Lily stepped forward, her face suddenly calm. It was as if a switch had flipped. James's heart raced as he caught the change in her demeanor. There was something dangerous in her gaze. "You don't understand, James," she said, her voice low and even. "I'm precisely where I need to be." James felt a chill creep up his spine. No, you can't be serious. Your brother gave me a chance to prove myself. I didn't want to hurt you, but this is the way it has to be. I'm not just a victim, I'm the key to it all. Silence fell heavy as the weight of her words sank in. It was as if the ground beneath them shifted, reality spiraling away. James's mind spun, replaying every moment leading to this horrifying revelation. Daniel's fists were clenched, rage fighting against disbelief. "You don't have any idea what you've gotten into, James. She's tied to the people who came for you. You have to trust me." "How can I trust either of you?" James shouted, feeling utterly lost. "Willie, why did you betray me?" But before she could respond, a piercing siren blared, interrupting everything. In an instant, they all turned, eyes wide. Black vehicles raced toward them from every direction, lights flashing like demons descending. The stakes just soared. Everything he thought he knew snapped like a thin thread. Standing amid the chaos, James felt a rush of fear, uncertainty, and betrayal, questions spiraling around him. What kind of game was this? Who could he trust? In a world where deception wore familiar faces, James stood frozen, teetering on the edge of a darkness he never wanted to see. In the gathering storm, the question loomed before him like a dark cloud. Could he still save everything he loved, or was it already too late? James felt time slow as he looked between Lily and Daniel, confusion knitting his brow. The shout of sirens and the crackle of the storm receded, leaving just the pounding of his heart in his ears. "What do you mean she's not who I think she is?" His voice was sharp, slicing through the madness. "Don't listen to him, James," Lily cried, insecurity flickering beneath her bravado. "I'm just trying to help you. You have to believe me." The rain poured harder, each droplet a reminder of the chaos swirling around them. Daniel stepped forward, fists still clenched. "This is serious, James. You think you know her, but she's involved in everything. The corruption, the betrayals." He pointed an accusing finger at her. "You have no idea what she's capable of." Lily shot an angry glare at Daniel. "And you do?" Her voice dripped with disdain. "You think I'm the enemy here?" "Enough, all of you." The man from the alley interrupted, his voice low and fierce. "You're wasting precious time." His presence loomed between them, a dark cloud ready to burst. Before anyone could respond, a sudden flash of light erupted from the direction of the advancing vehicles, blinding James for a moment. He squinted, trying to make sense of the chaos when, bam! A thunderous explosion tore through the air. The force of it sent them all reeling, James stumbled back, eyes wide, heart racing. Thick smoke swallowed them, swirling like a tempest. He gasped, trying to clear his lungs as panic gripped him. James! Lily's voice was choked. She stumbled forward, grabbing his arm. We need to get out of here. But as the smoke thinned, James caught a glimpse of something horrific that made his blood run cold. The figure moving through the smoke wasn't just the man from the alley. Suddenly, a circle of armed men emerged, all wearing masks, eyes glinting with a deadly hunger. Get them, one of them shouted, and in that moment, everything shattered. The world tilted. Run, Daniel yelled, pulling James and Lily away from the car. But chaos didn't wait. It unleashed. Bullets whizzed by, breaking through the night like angry wasps. Come on, James urged, pulling Lily closer, but she stopped suddenly, her expression shifting. Wait, she exclaimed. I can. Now, Daniel roared, shoving them both ahead. James felt disbelief crawling through him. What was happening? Why was everyone suddenly turning against each other? Then, as they rounded the corner of a building, something strange hit him. It wasn't just the air thick with fear. James noticed a flicker in Lily's eyes again, a glimmer that seemed too knowing for someone who had just escaped a grave threat. It's not what you think, James, she said quietly, her eyes darting, weighing the danger weighed against something deeper. With a sudden force, she ripped off the sleeve of her jacket. A tattoo unfurled on her arm, a vivid symbol like a scar in the dark. It was the same twisted mark he had seen before. I'm part of it, but it's not just them. His heart crashed against his ribs. What are you talking about? She stepped closer, urgency flooding her voice. I've been working for both sides. Your brother's not safe. None of us are. Before he could ask more, Daniel swiveled, his quick movements catching them both off guard. You're a spy. You've been playing us. Lily's expression turned sharp, but it was her next words that changed everything. I didn't have a choice, she shouted, desperation spilling out. But I can help you. You have to trust me. And then in that instant, a gunshot rang out, hitting the pavement beside them. Someone yelled. Chaos erupted again. Get back, James shouted, instinct taking over. But in that blur of panic and fear, everything changed once more. Lily went down, collapsing as the bullet missed her by inches. No, James roared, diving for her. But what he saw next stunned him. She was not just falling, she was transforming, her features shifting unnaturally. The wide eyes faded into something darker and colder. Lily, he gasped, but the voice that came from her lips was no longer hers. Her gaze turned to him, vacant yet threatening. You shouldn't have trusted me, James. You're just a pawn in this game. The ground beneath him fell apart, and the world around him spiraled into chaos, leaving him to question everything he thought he knew. The last thing he heard before everything went dark was the mocking laughter emerging from the person he thought he knew. And then a chilling silence enveloped him, leaving him wondering, was this the deception he feared all along? James stumbled back, the chaos surrounding him blurring into a haze of confusion. The sight of Lily collapsing, changing, sent shockwaves coursing through him. He couldn't understand. The girl he'd rescued, the victim he believed her to be, was shifting right in front of his eyes. Her eyes, once filled with fear, were now cold and calculating, as if she were shedding everything that made her human. The moment hung in the air, thick and electric. James got ready to defend himself, heart racing, but her voice pierced through the cacophony. It's time to choose, James, she said, an unsettling calm settling over her. You can either join me or watch everything you love burn. What are you talking about? He stammered, staring at her incredulously. What have you done? Daniel clenched his fists, stepping in front of James, his expression hardening. You were right, James. She's not innocent. She's a player. She's been using you. Lily chuckled, a sound so chilling that it made James' skin crawl. Look at you both, so naive. You have no idea what you're involved in, do you? I was sent to get you close, to bring you into the game. Game? Daniel's voice was taut with rising anger. This isn't a game, Lily. We're being hunted. Yes, and that's exactly why I'm here, she replied, stepping closer, eyes fierce. You thought your brother was dead? He's been alive, orchestrating everything from the shadows, and he hasn't been alone. What? James's heart sank, and he felt the world tilt. Was Daniel part of this nightmare too? What are you saying? Before she could answer, the armed men who had been lurking in the smoke surged forward, drawing weapons. Get them, one of them shouted. The chaos exploded anew, darkness closing in as shots rang out. Run, Daniel shouted, but James hesitated, confusion enveloping him like a shroud. Everything he'd known was crashing around him. The director of his life, his brother, was alive and behind this? Lily lunged forward, grabbing James' arm with surprising strength. James, now, we need to get you somewhere safe. He wrenched his arm free. Safe? Or a trap? Lily's expression flickered, uncertainty breaking through her previously cold demeanor. I'm trying to help you, but before he could respond, the tension shifted again, as if a gust of wind had blown through a crowd, creating chaos. The men were closing in, and gunfire commanding. Stop, she shouted, and the armed men obeyed, freezing mid-stride. Who the hell are you? One of them barked, but she didn't answer. Instead, she swept her gaze to James, piercing and unwavering. James, she said firmly, moving toward them. We don't have much time. You must listen to me. This is bigger than any of you think. Bigger? He asked, bewilderment crashing in waves. What are you talking about? Your brother, she continued, voice steady but urgent. He's not just alive. He's the central piece in a whole new network, one connected to the very heart of the city's corruption. And Lily, she's part of it, but there's something she doesn't know. What could she possibly not know? Daniel gritted out, frustration boiling. The woman's voice dropped to a whisper, but heavy, with gravity. Lily's been protecting him, yes, but she's also part of a bloodline that connects back to the very families running this city, including yours, James. You were never meant to find her. Shockwave after shockwave coursed through the air. James felt like he'd been punched in the gut. The corners of his world were fraying, unraveling before him. Still, Lily sprang into action. You don't understand. I'm on your side. The woman looked at her, a knowing glint in her eyes. Are you sure you're ready to hear the truth, Lily? About who you really are? What you were brought back to the city to do? A frozen silence enveloped them. James's heart pounded painfully as he took a half-step forward, desperately grasping the unraveling threads of reality. The woman's words loomed like a storm cloud. Suddenly, Lily's face transformed, a mixture of fear and fury swirling within her. No, I won't let you tell him. I'm not a pawn. But you already are, the woman said, stepping closer, her presence undeniable. And if you don't embrace who you are, everything will fall apart. You need to choose, now. The choice hovered in the air like a fragile secret, and James could feel the weight of it bearing down. Was she right? Was Lily more than she let on? This web of deceit tightened around them, leading them on the precipice of a truth that threatened to shatter everything. As James opened his mouth to respond, something exploded nearby, a blinding sharpness that momentarily halted their breath. The ground shook, and through the dust and debris, he saw a figure he never expected, his brother, Daniel's face pale, eyes wild. What have you done? He yelled as the dust settled, revealing chaos radiating from beyond. In that moment, two worlds collided within James's fragile grasp of reality. Allies became enemies, and truths morphed into lethal secrets. Everything he thought he knew shattered like glass, leaving only uncertainty. As the darkness curled closer, it became clear. The game was just beginning, and their next move would decide everything. James felt the weight of fate land on his shoulders, and in an instant he was swept into a storm with no clear way out. James stood there, frozen in an unreal moment between past and present, shaken to his core. The realization that his brother was alive should have brought relief, but all he felt was dread. The atmosphere buzzed with tension, and fear prickled at his skin. Death hung thick in the air, a chilling reminder of the dangers lurking around them. "Daniel?" He barely whispered it, voicing the question pulsing at the back of his mind. "That's right," his brother replied, his gaze darting between Lily and the woman standing beside him. "I'm back, but it's not what you think." "No, no, no." James shook his head, visions of their childhood flickering in and out. "You were dead. Everyone said you were dead." But Daniel's eyes were sharp, revealing a truth far worse than what James wanted to see. "I faked my death to protect you from the family." Protect me?" James interrupted, incredulous. "By getting entangled in crime? By letting fake friends and enemies surround us?" But before Daniel could retort, the woman stepped in again, urgency sparking in her eyes. "We can't stay here. They'll be coming for us. James, you need to wrap your head around this quickly." James felt everything crash down around him. He was supposed to be safe, to be living a life untouched by shadows. Instead, he was drowning in them. And Lily? She had been his lifeline, the bridge to understanding. Now, uncertainty twisted around them like vines. "Stop! What about her?" James pointed at Lily, fear twisting into confusion. "If she's as involved as you say—" "I'm trying to help," Lily cried, her voice cracking under the weight of the moments before, her earlier confidence now having evaporated. "You saw what happened to me. I was sent to bring you back into the fold. Do you really think I wanted this?" "Back into what fold?" Daniel spat, jaw tense, eyes filled with distrust. "She's part of the web, and you're caught in it." Suddenly, another explosion echoed near the street corner. Fire and heat surged toward them, illuminating the alley. Shouts erupted from the distance, an angry swarm of figures shuffling forward. "Everybody down!" the woman yelled, pulling James back behind the dumpster, just as chaos erupted. Debris rained down, and screams filled the air. James felt panic surge and twisted around to Daniel, who was frantically searching his face for answers. "What's happening? Why are they after us?" "They'll kill us if they realize who we are," Daniel said, urgency lining his voice thick. "And you?" He turned to Lily. "You can't protect James. You need to choose a side." "I'm trying to save him," she yelled back, teetering dangerously on the edge of fear and anger. Her voice held a note of desperation, pleading with Daniel to see her truth. Then it hit. An unforeseen surge of light erupted behind the chaos, blaring like a horn. They turned to see another group of people emerging toward them. But these weren't armed thugs. James squinted, heart racing as he recognized faces among them, people he thought were long gone, faces etched in his memory like faded photographs. "Mom," he breathed, eyes wide. "James," she shouted, panic dancing across her features, arms outstretched. "We have to go. It's not safe here." "Mom!" But she had disappeared years ago. The stories, the lies, emotion crashed over him like a tidal wave. She should have been gone, a ghost, but standing there, alive and frantic, she was flesh and blood. "Mom, how?" James stumbled forward, hope bubbling despite the calamity. "It's a long story." Her words were cut short as another loud explosion echoed nearby. "Now isn't the time for reuniting, James." Daniel yanked James back. "We need to move." Lily was by his side, eyes frantically darting. "We can't leave them. They're our family." Her voice trembled, but as the figures closed in, a familiar face emerged from the fracas. Someone James had least expected. "I've been watching, brother," came a low whisper that snaked through the air, chilling him to his core. "Who?" James's voice reflected confusion and terror. That's when he saw her, a face from the past he thought was lost. It was Natalie, his sister, standing unfazed among the rubble, confidence spilling from every inch of her body. "I told you, James, this is only the beginning." Everything twisted again. Trust, Loyalties, reality, none of it made any sense anymore. James felt the ground tremble beneath him as a cascade of overwhelming emotions surged through him. A brother presumed dead. A sister reappeared from the void. A woman whose loyalties were in question, all against the backdrop of uncertainty and chaos swirling like a storm at their heels. "What do you mean?" Daniel shouted, panic lacing through him now. But James, trapped in disbelief, could barely find his own voice. As the shadows closed tighter around them, one question hung heavy and dark. Who were they really, and was anyone truly who they appeared to be? Chaos erupted, a swirling tempest of sounds and emotions crashing around James. He looked between the familiar faces surrounding him, confusion tightening around his chest. The echoes of explosions still rang in his ears, shadows moving closer and closer. "Stay together," Daniel shouted, pulling them away from the thrumming danger. But James was glued to the spot, eyes locked on Natalie. She was alive. How? How had she slipped back into their lives, tangled in this twisted web? "James, we don't have time." His brother's voice snapped him back. "Mom," he shouted, desperately seeking eye contact. "We can't leave her. We can't save anyone if we die here." Daniel's expression darkened, urgency clawing at his tone. But as they pushed away from the dumpster, James instinctively rushed toward their mother, heart pounding against his ribcage. "Mom, how are you here? What's going on?" "I'll explain everything, but we need to move," she insisted, her voice trembling, yet filled with an underlying resolve. Just as he reached out for her, a thunderous crash echoed from behind, sending fragments of concrete tumbling. The hired guns had regrouped, their voices a rabid growl, closing in. "Get them," one shouted, urgency in his tone that matched James's growing dread. "Run," Daniel yelled, pulling James back with a fierce grip. But before they could flee, something strange tugged at James's senses, a sudden stillness that felt unnatural amid the chaos. That's when Lily moved, a blur. She darted toward Natalie, eyes glinting with fierce determination. "Get away from him," she screamed, throwing herself at James' mom. Time froze. James watched in horror as Lily shoved Natalie, who lost her balance and stumbled back. But instead of falling, she landed on her feet, eyes shifting dangerously. "You don't understand, do you?" she sneered, voice dripping with disdain. "You think you can just waltz in here and take him away?" "Natalie, stop," James shouted, fear sinking into his bones. This was all wrong. With a speed that sent shockwaves down his spine, Natalie lunged, but she wasn't just aiming for Lily. She turned her attention to Daniel instead, her fist colliding with his jaw before anyone could comprehend the turn. Shock rippled through the air like electricity as Daniel tumbled back. "What the hell?" he sputtered, eyes wide with disbelief. Behind them, the chaos escalated again as the masked figures closed in. "What kind of craziness is this?" one of them shouted, watching the scene unfold as if it were a twisted play. James's heart raced. The remnants of family, friends, were suddenly embroiled in betrayal and violence, and he felt sick. "Natalie," he whispered, voice cracking, "what are you doing?" But she turned her fiery gaze, cold and sharp. "What needs to be done, James? You were never meant to know. Those family ties, they don't mean anything here. Not anymore." He took a half step back. "What do you mean?" A slight movement behind Natalie caught his eye, and a horrifying realization engulfed him. The other armed men, still closing in, weren't just orders of a crime family. They were a visible representation of an enemy James hadn't seen coming. All those years of silence, of ghostly connections, and it came crashing in now. "We're not just attackers," one of the masked men spoke, voice low and sinuous. "We're enforcers of a new order, and Natalie is our queen." The revelation hit like a physical blow. The skin on his arms prickled, disbelief shrouding his thoughts. Natalie? A queen? He shook his head, heart racing. "No, you can't be serious." "Oh, but I am," she said, lips curling into a predatory smile, her eyes reflecting the flashing lights. "You've been blind, James. It's time you realized who truly holds the power here." As realization washed over him like ice water, a new dread started clawing at him. "Lily, you have to help us," he cried, reaching for her. But she looked torn, fear and anger warring across her face. Then, in one sickening moment, Lily stepped backward, drawing something from her pocket. A glint of metal flashed, and before he could react, it flew through the air, embedding into the ground at James' feet. "Choose," she shouted, breath ragged, eyes wild. "Choose who you will trust." Before James could even register the depth of betrayal and confusion, another figure stepped forward from the crowd. A silhouette that sent his heart spiraling into his stomach. His father. "Dad?" His voice cracked, fumbling for understanding. James stood before what could only be a nightmare, where friends turned into foes and promises turned into lies. "You were never dead either?" "No, James," his father replied, voice steady but strained. "It's time to embrace your legacy." The true family. With his brother, crumpled to the ground, his mother standing dangerously close to Lily, and his father emerging from the shadows, the world spun around him. Shouting voices echoed behind him, each ringing in his ears. "Join us, or get out of the way." James stood in the eye of the storm, drowning in uncertainty. Faces turned to him, each one a mirror reflecting his choices, a tapestry of betrayal woven tightly around him. Strangled by impossibility, he struggled to breathe. This was the moment. All hopes were wrapped in the choices he now had to make. All he thought he knew failed in an instant, and as the stakes climbed higher, he realized trust was a deadly game, and he had no idea how to play. In this moment of chaos and betrayal, one question hovered, sharp as a blade. What if he was the pawn in their game, waiting to be sacrificed? James stood there, ice in his veins as his world tilted on its axis. His family, once a tapestry of safety, was now a chaotic battlefield. Natalie, alive, dangerous, nearer than he'd ever thought, stood defining their fate. "Join us, or get out of the way," one of the masked men shouted. Staring at Natalie, James's mind raced. What had they done? The shadows of betrayal loomed thick, and he felt the weight of their family's dark legacy crash over him like a tidal wave. His breath caught as he searched for something to hold on to. "James," Daniel shouted, pulling him back. "We need to leave, now." But it was like moving through quicksand. Fear, confusion, and the spectral pull of family ties left him paralyzed. He looked again at Lily, ready to leap toward her, a desperate grasp for clarity amid chaos. Suddenly, an earth-shattering crack filled the air. A tremor rippled through the ground, and James stumbled back, shock waves rattling him to his core. It was as if the earth itself had decided to intervene, a furious reminder that nothing was stable. "Move!" the woman yelled again, urgency morphing into pure panic. Before any of them could react, something metallic burst through the air, a flash of shimmering silver, a knife flung from the darkness. Everything slowed, the knife spun like a dark star, and it struck Natalie squarely in the shoulder. She gasped, eyes pale skin. Screams erupted as chaos escalated. The masked men surged forward, the spell of Natalie's control fractures in an instant. But it didn't just stop there. As she staggered, clutching her shoulder, the force of the knife brought down an unseen wall. Natalie's face twisted into a furious mask. "You dirty traitor!" she screamed, pointing towards someone in the shadows. James squinted, trying to see who she meant, but the shadows parted, revealing a figure he never thought would step into the light. Their father. "What?" James breathed, caught between disbelief and fury. "Dad," but it was the look on their father's face that sent shivers down James's spine. Cold, devoid of warmth or regret. "It's already begun. The pieces are moving, and it's time you understood your true place in this family." "Get away from him! You did this!" Natalie shrieked, backing away, blood dripping down her arm. "You don't get to make demands anymore," their father said, voice like ice. "Everything, this power struggle, it leads back to you, dear daughter." James's heart sank. This wasn't the reunion he'd hoped for. It was a nightmare in motion. Was she the enemy all along? But the chaos didn't let up. In a sudden flash of movement, a new figure emerged through the smoke. A tall woman, cloaked in shadows, moved with deadly grace. James squinted harder, hope flickering. "Who are you?" he called, panic clawing to the surface. But she'd already launched herself forward. "Enough!" the woman shouted, sending round after round into the chaos. The bullets struck the ground, splintering chaos everywhere. Bystanders screamed. Another explosion ripped through the air, a blinding burst of light igniting the street. As debris rained down, everything spiraled out of control. In the chaos, James saw Nathaniel go down, blood pooling around him, the electric surge of violence blooming in red. Staggering backward, James felt the ground beneath him shift again. The knife that struck Natalie, it was all part of the play. The betrayal deeper than he believed. And then he saw it in Lily's eyes, fear mixed with a glimmer of something darker. "No," he shouted, struggling against the pull of family ties. She took a step forward, bloodied and desperate, but then she turned her gaze toward their father, and the vulnerability slipped away. "Don't you see?" she hissed. "This game was never yours." As the smoke cleared, the reality settled in. Their family ties, the truth of who they were, shattered completely. Shock surged through him. Every choice, every person he trusted, distorted into something unrecognizable. In that moment, a sickening realization gripped him. What if he wasn't just a pawn? What if he were meant to be king? But before the darkness could swallow him whole, another bombshell dropped. The tall woman, she wasn't just there to fight, she was there for him. "Your brother sent me," she shouted over the madness. "He's the one who orchestrated this. He needed you to see." James blinked, the ground slipping from under his feet. Was Daniel behind all this? If this was true, the implications were staggering. Everything he thought he understood flipped upside down. His heart raced as the weight of the moment crushed him. Everywhere, shadows of betrayal clung like static, flickering through the air until he couldn't breathe. Could he find the truth buried in this chaos? Or would he lose everything to the shadows that encircled him? Desperation surged as he knew. Now it was no longer just a struggle for survival. It was a fight for the very core of who they were. "James?" Lily's voice broke through the maelstrom. "You have to choose." And just like that, as the air crackled with tension, he felt the weight of the world resting on his shoulders again. The air around James crackled with tension, the echoes of chaos thrumming in his veins. He stood at the heart of a storm, everything he knew now cloaked in uncertainty and betrayal. Natalie's revelation hung heavy, twisting in the atmosphere like a taut wire ready to snap. He felt trapped, the weight of the decisions pressing down like an anvil. "James, you have to choose," Lily shouted, urgency breaking through the thickening fear. Her eyes flashed with a mix of desperation and something darker, a reminder of how quickly alliances could shift. Then, Daniel scrambled to his feet, fists clenched and bloody, confronting the man who had once been his ally. "You're not my sister anymore, Natalie. You're just a pawn in your own game." Natalie grimaced, but a flicker of hurt crossed her face. "You're just too naive to realize your strength." Suddenly, a new roar of gunfire pierced the air, shattering their fragile standoff. James felt adrenaline surge, pushing him forward. "Get down." In the chaos, James saw moments flash before him. His family, their laughter, the warmth of home before the darkness swallowed it. He wouldn't lose them again. The realization struck, sudden and fierce. He had to break free from this cycle. It was time to rewrite their fate. "Lily, we need to get out." He turned to her, eyes pleading for trust. "Can you do that?" But as she opened her mouth to respond, chaos erupted again. A flash of light, a powerful explosion, and the ground shook with vicious force. Dust choked the air, and screams erupted around them. In the midst of the whirlwind, James locked eyes with Lily. There was a moment, just a flicker, where he thought he could reach her, understand her true self, hidden behind the facade. "Are you with me?" Before she could answer, Natalie broke through the haze, her voice cold and sharp. "I'd watch who you trust, James." She was transforming into someone he barely recognized. The family ties snapped like twigs underfoot. "You oil and water. You can't mix with the bloodline we carry." Searing doubt gnawed at him, but the flicker of hope still burned bright. "Enough," he shouted, voice rising above the din. "We're not bound by your twisted legacy anymore." The declaration took flight, rallying them. It was a blanket of resolve woven together in that fierce moment. The grounded figures around them, masked and menacing, hesitated, confusion flaring. And that's when he sprang into action, stepping forward with conviction. "I don't want this power, this game. I want our family back, the real us." Lily stepped beside him, breathing heavily, fear melting into fierce determination. "He's right." In the face of disbelief, every voice swirled into one, allies turning to face their fragility head-on. James felt the air shift. If they were going to survive, they had to dismantle this web together. That was the moment. As Natalie faltered, the air thick with uncertainty, James took a bold step. "We will break this cycle. We will forge our path." He extended a hand toward both Natalie and Daniel, bridging the chasm ripped open by betrayal. "Join us," he urged, his voice steady. "Let's create the legacy we want." Fighting tears with each word, he saw glimpses of softness as they considered. Then, before another shot could be fired, the masked figures stepped back, confusion brewing into hesitation. "It's too late for that," one snarled, dragging out his weapon. But James felt a sudden surge of confidence pushing through him. "Then we'll force a new beginning." The shift was palpable, tension carrying them through as whispers washed over the room. For all the pain, there was something deeper beneath it all. A shared bond, family united. And at that moment, the tide turned. Suddenly cries echoed through the chaos, commands shouted into the confusion. "Now let's get out of here," Daniel exclaimed, pulling them into motion. With a swift turn, they ran, hearts racing, adrenaline propelling them toward the narrow alley that led to the unknown. Behind them, the storm raged, but James felt a flicker of hope ignite within. Together, they could rewrite their future, walk away from the shadows that had haunted their family for so long. With one last glance back at the chaos they left behind, their past wrapping around them like a cloak, they stepped into the light beyond, ready to face whatever awaited them with renewed strength. And as they stumbled into a new dawn, the weight of the world slowly lifted, ready to redefine what it meant to be family. You have to subscribe right now. This is the moment to show your support for the channel and not miss any of the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button right now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more fans like you. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this ending. What did you think? And don't wait even one more second to share this. Tag at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends.